As far as I know, it's not an agent of the government or a foreign government. There are people who believe that, Charlie Kirk was killed by a foreign government. But as far as I know, it is a young 22-year-old kid from Utah who decided to execute this man. Whereas in the George Floyd case, obviously, he's a police officer. So,
Big Boys Neighborhood.
Boy.
We are now uncut, ladies and gentlemen. Neama Rahmani back in the neighborhood. West Coast trial lawyers. There's so much that come with you because I start giving out like degrees and where you worked at before. But Neama, welcome back to the neighborhood, brother. Put that mic right in front of your face, man, so we can hear you drop this knowledge on us, man. Welcome back to the neighborhood, Neama.
of course, Big. Glad to be here. So much to talk about, man.
No, man. I don't know where we begin. Let's start at the beginning. All righty. Diddy sentencing. What is going on with the Diddy sentencing, man?
Yeah, Diddy's sentencing about to go down on Friday. And look, man, the government just dropped their sentencing memorandum, and they're asking for 11 years. Yeah.
Okay, and we've talked through this Diddy trial, from the arrest, from the actual trial, to now we're talking about the sentencing. When you get where the biggest counts are kind of like thrown out, how is the 11 years still a possibility? And what are the 11 years? What is that sentencing for?
So Diddy was acquitted of the racketeering and sex trafficking. So you can't bring in acquitted conduct, but you can bring in other relevant conduct. So they're bringing in the physical violence, the beatings, the drugs. He wasn't charged with any of that.
But they're bringing it in.
You can bring it in, and it's just a preponderance of the evidence, much lower standard, what you use in civil court, and the judge can find it even if he wasn't charged with it. So look, I think a lot of it is sour grapes, and they're trying to pile on because they know they lost, and they lost bad. But my prediction is that Diddy's going to get some time. Not 11 years, but he's going to get some time. It's not the right thing.
Right.
But when the judge wouldn't release him on bond after he was only convicted of prostitution, simple prostitution.
That's when I knew it was bad.
Yeah.
And he gave up he was offering pretty much the same things that he was offering when he was just trying to come home and fight his case during the trial. Tens of millions of dollars, passport surrenders, just everything. So do you feel like there's absolutely no way in the world, Neama, if we're hearing 11 years, that Friday he's out?
No, he's not going to get out. So the defense is asking for 14 months. That's basically time served. You get 15% off on the federal system if you don't have any problems. So there's no way he's walking away. He's going to get time. I don't think he's going to get 11 years, but he's going to get years in prison in my best guess. I don't think it's the just result.
And you were a federal prosecutor?
I was a federal prosecutor.
So what do you know?
Nothing, man. I only put 1,000 people in prison.
Right, yeah. Man, so you feel like, because at one point when we heard, the final judgment and the acquittals, and I was like, oh, man, it almost felt like he was coming home pretty much from court, if you let other people tell it. And then when it got to the sentencing dates, and then when the judge was like, nah, you got to stay in till then. So we really feel like, okay, yeah, this dude it'd be a few more calendars of Diddy being gone, possibly.
Possibly, yeah. I think he should be home. Listen, I'm not a fan. I think what he did was wrong, but no one in this country is prosecuted federally for just prostitution, right? Even if they are, no one is getting more than a year in federal prison. So they're really throwing the book at this guy, and he's really being treated differently. People think celebrities get a pass in this country.
Right.
Jurors love celebrities. But in this particular case, I think the judge is going to send a message. He's not going to want to appear soft, given all the horrific videos and violence that we've seen.
Do you think at some point, like the judge, maybe his daughter tried to audition for a dance group, or was she making the band, or it sounds does it sound personal, or you say just making an example?
I think he's not going to want to come across as soft when it comes to a celebrity. I get the sense that, look, he's a judge, and Judge Subramanian, I'm not saying he did anything wrong or improper, but I don't think he expected the verdict. I don't think he was happy with the verdict. I think, frankly, the prosecution in this case botched this case. It was a very winnable case, and they put on bad witnesses. Look, you can't just put on women that were in abusive relationships when they chose to stay. I understand the psychology of abuse. I understand why someone may stay if they're physically or sexually abused. But in this particular case, Big, there were so many other victims who had come forward, who had filed lawsuits, minors, people that didn't stay in a relationship. The only time they dealt with Diddy or even encountered him, they alleged they were sexually assaulted. If the government put on some of those people, I think the case may have turned out different. But Cassie's text messages, her DMs saying she wanted to get freaky, can't wait to do this
Right.
again. Jane, I mean, it was bad.
All right. Let's go to David, the
Yeah.
R&B singer that I never heard of that I'm very familiar with now.
Yeah.
And there is, for one, what is this case when we find Celeste, who was 13 when she was missing, 15 as far as when we speak about finding her decomposed body and her being dead inside of R&B, the R&B performer David. What it seems like there's a lot, Neema, that you're saying, man, okay, she was found in his car. There's video evidence of them together. Why haven't we seen an arrest? Or is there something that we're not seeing here?
I think we're going to see an arrest very soon. And David, I'm with you, man. But the kids, TikTok,
Oh,
YouTube,
yeah, man.
I mean, they're all,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they know everything about him. So, look, there's a lot of smoke here, right? At a minimum, you have an 18, 19-year-old man who's spending a lot of time with a 13, 14-year-old runaway, right? Then her body's found in the car. Everyone on social media, right? We've all seen the pictures, right? The
Yeah.
internet sleuths, right?
Yeah, man. The matching tattoos.
Yeah, the match.
The mom saying that her boyfriend was named David. Like, it's a lot.
The middle school teacher. And look,
Oh,
at the
yeah.
end of the day, her body was found in the frunk of his Tesla. And for people that have Teslas, those frunks are pretty small, man.
Right.
It's not like,
Who were we just, man, yeah, we were just having this conversation yesterday.
Yeah.
Where,
And look, Celeste is, I mean, she's, I think 5'2", but still, it's not easy to fit someone in the frunk. So, look, is it possible David's innocent? Is it possible that it was an accidental death, maybe an overdose, and they just tried to dispose of the body? But there's a lot of smoke here, and there's this girl who's been missing for quite some time. They executed search warrants at his home. We know Teslas, man. I mean, if anyone
yeah.
has one, it's like a treasure trove of electronic data, There's videos. There's cameras, right? We know when that frunk was open. The car was in an accident. There was a big dent. I'm sure that was recorded. So it's just a matter of time before LAPD, they arrest someone. So if it's not David, it's probably going to be someone in his inner circle.
Right. Yeah, because there's times when I look at it and I'm like, man, there's so many pieces that, and sometimes you look at certain things, you're like, oh, they already got it. It's already about to happen. It's just about when, FCC,
Yeah.
Kimmel. The Kimmel thing was that just being a guy that's in broadcasting, and now you have this freedom of speech. Now it's freedom of speech. Just watch what you say. What did you see when it came to the FCC, Kimmel getting pulled off his show, and now we see that he's reinstated? But what did you see when it came to pulling this guy off the air when we have a kind of a right to speak?
Yeah, look, I was disappointed. And I'm sure we're going to be talking about Charlie Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
But listen, we live in a free country, and you can say things that are offensive. And really, look, maybe it was a little insensitive. Maybe it was inaccurate. But it's not a reason, in my opinion, to pull someone from the show. Now, legally, there's not a whole lot you can do because this is why. It wasn't an FCC decision, right? The FCC put pressure on ABC. It was an ABC. It was a Disney decision. So you have the freedom of speech when it comes to the government. So if Kimmel was going to file a lawsuit, he'd have to file against the United States.
Or
No,
FC. Oh.
the United States, FCC, Trump administration, because you have a freedom of speech when it comes to the government. You have no freedom of speech when it comes to your employer.
Gotcha.
Right. So your employer can fire you because of what you say. The government, they can't prosecute you or retaliate against you for what you say.
Do Trump know that? No, you know what I'm saying? Do you think he knows that?
Well, listen, man, look, and, people have been talking about cancel culture on both sides. And look, it's happening. We should live in a country where you can say how you feel without being shot, without being fired, without people doxing you, without people calling your employer, blowing them up. I mean, what kind of world do we live in right now where you can't say something about a very high-profile murder when you are a talk show host, right?
Right.
I mean, it's really a sad state of affairs in this country
What
right
are
now.
you seeing now, Neema, with immigration, with ICE, with Border Patrol? Like there's a gentleman that owned three different car washes. Did you see the guy that
Yeah,
they came in
the
and
video.
mowed him down? I think he's in his 70s. I don't know if he's 72 or 79, but he's filing a lawsuit. But man, they football popped this dude.
Yeah.
And then once they got him outside, it got a lot worse. And you're looking at these videos now. What's your take on what's going on with immigration right now?
Yeah, that's a bad video. And I know the lawyer who's representing him, great guy, does a lot of civil rights cases, really one of the best. But yeah, completely unnecessary force on this guy, you know, who clearly wasn't resisting, wasn't obstructing, really made no sense. Here's the problem with immigration right now, and it's really the Supreme Court. So we talked about free speech, the First Amendment. You got to tie something to the Constitution. So we know you can't target someone based on their race, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what ICE is doing, they're going to places like the Home Depot, right? They're rounding people up. Well, the people that have been filing lawsuits against ICE said, well, look, you're targeting people purely because of their race. The problem is this case went to the Supreme Court and the justices said, this isn't race. This is people who don't speak English. That's not race. These are people who are day laborers. That's not race. These are people that happen to be at the Home Depot. That's not race. Well, it's obvious there's a certain group of people that tend to have those characteristics. Those are just substitutes for race. So it's really a farce in my opinion. But look, when you got the Supreme Court and it's 6-3 and they're saying, hey, this isn't targeting people based on race, which is unlawful. This is actually probable cause. You're targeting someone because they don't speak English. For me,
who are those Supreme Court justices?
man, I can just
Right.
I can just name them.
Wow,
You know?
how did those last three get in there? I'm wondering. But do you feel like it's going to get any worse before it gets so-called better?
I think it is going to get worse, man. It's just this is a high priority for the administration. They're paying people huge signing bonuses. I don't know if you watch football right now. They're running DHS commercials.
Yeah.
It's going to be, you know, significantly worse. The deportations are going to continue. That's why I tell everyone, if you're undocumented, you know someone who is, even if you're out of status and you were once in status, you had a visa, make sure you talk to an immigration lawyer right now.
But even now, Neema, when you go in to make things right or better, now you're being snatched even from going to do the right thing, and there's the due process is out the window. You know, you cannot. You know, there's no one really identifying who they are. You know, so if somebody jump out and go chase, you run for your life.
Yeah,
and not just running for your freedom, you running for your life. You don't know who some of these people are, and then now you're resisting. You know, and now you're getting locked up in a place where, you know, you don't know when you're going to get out. You don't know what the due processing is. You don't know where they're going to ship you to. And you saying that you feel it's going to be worse before it gets. And I see the same thing, Neema.
it's going to get worse, man. And there's not a whole lot the state of California can do. And the problem is, look, Newsom, the legislature, they passed this anti-mask law. I think it's going to be struck down. This is what federal law is supreme. Immigration is exclusively the authority of the federal government. So I wish there was a case. I wish I had a better answer. But I'm telling people, it's going to get uglier.
Neema, are you American born?
Yeah, I was born in Orange County.
Okay, so you're American born. What about family? Any other family members?
My family met here in college. Mm-hmm. So my parents met here in college, but all my aunts, uncles, everyone's here. They're all United States citizens. Really? So I'm Persian, but I don't have any family back in Iran.
And I know with Mariana that works with us, dude, like these are like real day-to-day problems.
Struggles. You know? Like I've had dreams of like ICE pulling up to like my friends, and because my friends are, some of them like have DACA, you know, they're here through DACA, and then some of my family members like they migrated here, you know, so it's really tough.
Yeah, don't say too much. We don't want to listen.
Man, it's sad. We have people that aren't going to school, people that are afraid to go to work, people that are afraid to get medical help, you know, because they're afraid to leave their home. It's really a sad state of affairs right now.
And anyone with you, Neema, that do either any kind of immigration law, immigration attorney, what are you hearing from them?
They're just inundated and overwhelmed. I mean, they can't help enough people because everyone is either trying to get some lawful status, or if they're out of status and they weren't worried, now they're terrified, right? And now, obviously, the removals, it's through the roof, right? Exponentially. So there aren't enough lawyers to handle these types of cases. There aren't enough civil rights lawyers. So yeah, it's
And then
bad
I
out
know, Mariana, we were at the gym and you were talking about a friend of yours
Mm-hmm.
that was saying that she was going to, her friend, a friend of hers mother said
Yeah.
that she may even like self-deport. She
Yeah.
had just kind of brought it up in conversation.
She brought it up and she was just saying that like she feels like maybe that's the best choice for her already is just to self-deport. But it's like, is it the
And she
best
been
choice?
here,
Should
right?
she wait? Yeah, because she's been here for over 10 years. So
Yeah, it's going to be hard, especially if we call E, we enter without inspection. You never had status. It's hard right now unless things change in Washington, D.C.
It's not.
for someone, who's undocumented, who never had status. Yeah, I mean, look, it's a clean sweep, right? I mean, they own all three. They own Congress, Supreme Court we talked about, White House.
even if her kids were born here and
Well, kids are going to be okay, right? Well, we'll see, unless they roll back birthright citizenship, which is crazy. I mean, it's in the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. I can't believe that I'm even saying this, but the Supreme Court is going to hear arguments this term on whether to overturn birthright citizenship, so for folks that don't know, after the Civil War, to give newly freed slaves citizenship, anyone born in the United States is a citizen. That's birthright citizenship. No matter the status of your parents, right? They can be undocumented, have status, doesn't matter. But what the administration is trying to do is roll that back. If your parents did not have status, even if you were born in the United States, you won't be a citizen.
And you know what, Neema, you hear people say, man, how can that happen? But we've seen a lot of how can that happen.
Yeah, I mean, look, when you have an audience like you do in the Supreme Court that's going to entertain something like this, look, let's not forget, this case already went up to the Supreme Court once, this issue. They sent it back down. This is the issue of nationwide injunctions, if people were following that. But they're going to talk about this very specific issue, and it can affect millions and millions of people.
When with Charlie Kirk, and when we're talking about First Amendment freedom of speech, when you saw the Charlie Kirk being, everybody say unalive, but when you saw him being killed on social media, on TV, what did you gather from that, and did you see what would be so-called what was next?
That was one of the most disturbing videos I've ever seen, and I've seen drug cartel executions and beheadings. To see him killed in front of his wife and kids, thousands of people. And look, I don't agree with many, many things that Charlie Kirk said. But man, we can't live in a country where you can just take someone out because you disagree with their political beliefs. That's what makes this country great. So it's a very disturbing case. I understand that there's a lot of other people who have been murdered in this country that people aren't talking about.
Yeah, because at one point, we see George Floyd being, 8 minutes, 48 seconds. We see, people being killed in their car. And I'm just wondering, too, like, there's an outrage, but we're so selective on our outrage, too, though. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's the and I know exactly where you're coming from, because even with me, I had to have a conversation with my kids about them popping open their phones and seeing that. But I've had that conversation before when they ask me about George Floyd, when they ask me, about a young Tamir Rice, or just taking my kids through certain things. So, and it's wild because what happens in this device now is crazy what you can see, because everybody's a reporter now. Yeah. And I think that's why you see a different type of outrage as well.
Yeah, look, and they're both tragedies. I think the George Floyd case, the reason it's different is he's killed by a police officer, right? I mean, you're killed by your own government. That is a different type of case. And you have people who are watching it happen, who are begging Derek Chauvin to take his knee off George Floyd's neck, right? So you're seeing it happen in real time. Whereas, look, Tyler Robinson, obviously what he did is completely unjustifiable, but it's not. Well, again, there's all sorts of conspiracies out there, but at least, as far as I know, it's not an agent of the government or a foreign government. There are people who believe that, Charlie Kirk was killed by a foreign government. But as far as I know, it is a young 22-year-old kid from Utah who decided to execute this man. Whereas in the George Floyd case, obviously, he's a police officer. So very different in my opinion.
Have you been following any of this Cardi B and Nicki Minaj drama that's going on?
Yeah, well, the Cardi B case.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. And even with the Cardi B case, right? I thought the Cardi B case, I wish they turned that into a Netflix series.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that Cardi B going to court.
Yeah.
You know, I wish it was drawn out kind of like the OJ thing. You know what I'm saying? And, of course, they didn't have cameras inside Diddy. I would have watched that as well. But when you watched that and when you saw the outcome, did you know that, not that it was frivolous, you know, but did you know that, come on, it's a reach here when you're talking about millions of dollars and Cardi B beat you up and all that?
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a bad case. You can't ask for $20 million for a scratch, right? And when the jury came back in an hour, first, Cardi B was a great witness. I mean, that was a foregone conclusion. But let me tell you something. Both that case and the Metro Boomin case, it's really a lesson for anyone that has a case. Let me tell you what the lesson is. If you think you have a case, you got to call a lawyer right away. Okay, this is the lesson. I'm telling you. So in the Metro Boomin case, right, this is a woman that accused him of rape. Yeah. She waited 8 years, right, to bring the accusation forward. So that plays into the argument always that it's fabricated, right? So one of the issues we had in Diddy, right? If you think you have a case, you got to report it immediately. It can be any type. It can be a car accident, right? You're in a car accident, you got to go to a doctor. And in the Cardi B case, she suffered this scratch. She didn't go to that plastic surgeon for a while. So everything the doctor was talking about was more than a year later, right? That's part of the problem with the case. If there's something that happens, it can be a physical assault, it can be a sexual assault, it can be a slip and fall injury. You got to document it right away. Otherwise, jurors will think, well, look, this is made up, right? People that are injured, they go to the doctor, right? People that are sexually assaulted, they go to the police. And if you don't have that, and I understand why people don't, it makes the case much more difficult.
But when you look at certain things, like even with Cardi B, the lady that wanted the $20 million, you know, that right there that's the money play.
Yeah.
And you can see that right away. But then there's also where you'll see the Diddy thing, whatever it may be, there's also the court of public opinion.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, you know, with Metro Boomin and the rape allegations, the court of public opinion is horrible. Yeah. Because you can go and try to get something cleared or whatever it is, but that shot that's heard around the world is much bigger than the retraction.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and the court of public opinion just trying to prove, you know, you're really guilty until proven innocent. And even when you're guilty, even when you're innocent, people still like, yeah, such and such or whoever, insert name, did something. You know?
Well, look, Big, we've talked about it off air. You know, if you're a celebrity, man, you got to be careful not to put yourself in certain situations. Like, let's say someone like David, let's say he's never charged. People are always going to associate him.
Oh, yeah, he have an asterisk.
I mean, he's done. His tour's canceled. All his sponsors have dropped him. I mean, even if he's never charged, right? Diddy, man, if and when he's released, he's going to be released one day. People always think about that video, right?
Yeah.
I think Cardi B is going to be okay because...
Right. Yeah, Cardi, I almost laughed at that one. I was like, geez. And then when they was like, oh, it's over, I was like, like, man, what am I going to do today? You know, anything before we let Neama get out?
No.
Right? No, I'm just nervous for my mom's friend. You know, or my friend, you know. So. But thank you for always coming into the neighborhood, bro. And we haven't seen you in a while. We got to get you in here often.
Yeah, let's get back. Post Diddy. Let's do a post-mortem recap.
Yeah, man. Oh, my God. You said a what?
Post-mortem, man.
Oh. Damn, that sounds bad, you know. But
man, that's the former prosecutor in me, man.
Right.
Analyzing these cases.
And Neama, how can they find you once again, Neama Rahmani?
West Coast Trial Lawyers, my firm, 888-888-WCTL. Any legal question, we're here to help you out. WestCoastTrialLawyers.com.
Right, man. And is there a specialty when you say call us?
We do personal injury primarily, but we also do employment and civil rights. So any type of injury, wrongful death, car accident, slip and fall, dog bite, sexual assault, physical assault. Call. Right. Something bad happened, give us a call.
Okay, cool. I was just thinking what I was going to trip and fall on the way out of here, but I already said it on air, so all they got to do is look at this video and they'll know. Neama, thank you for coming into the neighborhood and hanging out with us once again for Uncut. We are Big Boys Neighborhood, and we are gone.